seventh one about Tadabbur of the Quran through the lens of terminology, with the argument that there are certain terms in the Quran, if you don't know it, you might not be able to understand. You might get confused, put it this way, or somebody can deceive you too. So we took in the first 6 topics, we discussed all of these things. We discussed what is the sources of the Quran, why the other religion was corrupted, and how Islam came to prevent this, this basically doctrine that caused the corruption in the past. How you do tadabbur of Quran, your personal responsibility, and then we looked about, some of the terms. So we talked about awliya Allah. Who is awliya Allah? What does it mean to be a muttaqi, al-muttaqin? What is a mu'min? If you say, I'm a believer, what does it mean to be a believer? And then Ibadur Rahman. Then we did take all of the attributes. This is what the tree actually was. Take all of the attributes of those people who have taqwa, those people who are believers, those people, Ibadur Rahman, that's righteous slave of Rahman. And we said, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listed for them their attributes of traits, what they do. Then I made the tree. That's what it was for it. And then we talked about what is Rahman, because Rahman is unique among all of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the surah, there is no other surah called those other name of Allah other than Rahman. Remember, that's Rahman. And then we talked about Hanif, because we all say, Allah commands us to follow the religion of Ibrahim, Hanifan. What is a Hanif means, and how important of knowing the meaning of it. And then we talked about what the word zan and shak and knowledge. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that He tests people to know, what does it mean to know? Allah knows everything. How Allah doesn't need to test me to know. So we talked about these things. So today, inshallah, will be the last one. And if you, in the future, if you can read and say, this term is confusing to me, maybe we can add it to the list. But today I'm going to talk about the guidance and misguidance. Because almost in every Friday khutbah, you hear this statement. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. Whoever Allah guides, he will be the one is guided. And whoever Allah, actually the word yudlil supposed to be misguides. First one guide, misguide, but that's why people will feel uncomfortable using it. So they said, sits astray. Which is a proper translation, or let go astray, or leaves astray, or cause to err. If you look the Arabic, the English translation, you find all of these terms for that yudlil, that Allah does something, that for Him, you will not find, a guiding guardian. So obviously it becoming an issue about, said, wait a minute, you're telling me Allah, whoever Allah guide is the one is guided, and whoever Allah does not guide, no one can guide him. Then how can he be that person be responsible for anything? It cannot be just. So the definition then has to come, what does mean guide and yudil? What is this guidance means, and what is misguidance mean, as Allah uses in the Quran? So if you look to the guidance in the Quran, to interpret it, you have to look what type of guidance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about. Because there is 3 types of guidance. The same term is used, hidayah, but there is 3 kinds of them. There is a universal guidance, there is a supportive guidance, and there is a sustaining guidance. So you have to look, when you read the verse, you need to understand which one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about. Is this verse related to universal guidance, or related to the sustaining or the supportive guidance? So let's look. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is the universal guidance? The universal guidance has 2 means. Every one of us, Allah created by fitrah, that we recognize Him. We recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I remember we talked about Hanif. What is a religion? A Hanif religion is a religion that matches your natural disposition, your natural fitrah as Allah created it. And one of these fitrah that we all recognize there is a creator. And that's why it's amazing. If you look in history, at no time in history, people were atheists until the recent time. In the past, they always believed they're a creator. They might get confused about who is He. They looked at the sun and said, the sun is a creator. Look at the fire and said the fire. Look at some power. But they all recognize there is some power exists. It's now when people becoming so, get away from even the natural disposition of the natural fitra. That's what they argue, that no, there is nothing, there is no create. So, and this is why Allah subhanahu, for example, say, Inna hadaynahu sabila imma shakir. And then he sent the messenger. So two things. One, your fitra, and the second one is your, instructive. That send the messenger. What's the role of the messenger then? Is to provide, to guide people, to correct the people, their belief of people to that direction. So Allah subhanahu says, give us this, Inna hadaynahu sabila imma shakiran aw kafura. If we have guided him by our by this fitra that we created in him, but he is the one to choose to be grateful or ungrateful, to be kafir or believer. So here is Allah, when Allah says we hadaynah, He talking about the hidayah now of that innate hidayah, the guided hidayah, the fitra hidayah that he has. And then the other one, the instructive hidayah, which is in the messenger. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَمَّا ثَمُودَ فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ. Then the people of Samud, we send them a prophet, who is the Prophet Salih, and he delivered the message to them. So وَأَمَّا ثَمُودَ هَدَيْنَاهُم, that in as far as Samud, we give them guidance through the Prophet Salih. We give them the guidance. But now what is the reaction to it? فَاسْتَحَبُّوا الْعَمَى عَلَى الْهُدَى. They decided they prefer the blindness to guidance. But there is that, so Allah guide people. If this is a universal guide, everybody will receive from his own natural, and then but because from either our creation that and from also the messengers. Now the question is, people have free will, then they can decide they are going to accept it or reject it. Now if they reject it, then okay, you lost the universal guidance. But how about if you accept? Can you stay in the straight path all the time? Can you stay obedient to Allah straight all the time? No. You need additional support to them. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then comes and have what we call it, the supportive guidance. Supportive guidance, you find it out in so many ayat, that if you are guided, will increase your guidance. What does mean if you guided will increase? وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى. And those who are already guided will increase their guidance. Yes, they are guided. They accepted the first two, that universal guidance. But now we have to support them more, increase it so they can, stay on the straight path, because you need help in that regard. وَيَزِيدُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا هُدًى. And Allah increases guidance to those who are guided. So he's not talking about now, the universal, he's talking about this supportive guidance. And then when we look to this verse and when we talk about the mission, إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء وهو أعلم بالمهتدين. You will not able to guide whom you love. What is the role of the Prophet? The Prophet ﷺ is to guide people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him, you are not going to be able to guide whom you love. ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء. But Allah guide whom He wills. So what is the role of the Prophet? Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you, the messenger, cannot give anybody the supportive guidance. It is me who is the one who have to give the supporting guidance. Allah is the one who have to give the supportive guidance to them. You just deliver the message to them. If they accepted it, I take care of them then. I now will increase their guidance. But you yourself, your role is to develop the message to guide them, but the decision of guidance up to them, and depending on it, how they are going to do it. I probably told you this example one time, and it's a true story. It's not unless I'm making a story. I one time was going to, I think, visit, was probably 3 a.m. It was 3 a.m., yeah, in Ohio. And then we went, to the airport. I took the car, there's a GPS, and went to the hotel. And boy, the hotel took us so many rounds, until we reached the hotel. So when we were coming back, after we went to visit the company, and they were going back, want to go to the airport. Then my friend was driving, so we took the gate. When you go to the company, they give you, the cards, or then you have to return it back, the badges. So I went to return back the badges. I said, let's ask the guard, about the direction. And he said, oh, we don't have to do that. There is, we have the GPS. So So I said, let's ask. It doesn't matter. The GPS we were supposed to exit and turn right and go back from the way we are going, almost turn around the whole city. I asked the guy, I said, how do you go to the airport from here? He said, as soon as you go left and straight run to the airport. So I told him, I said, thank you very much, because if we followed the GPS, we would have been, confused, went the other way around, and it has taken so long. I told him, thank you. So he said, oh, but just be careful. When you reach this, he told us the name of the city, which I don't remember. Don't exceed the limit of 20 miles per hour in the street, because the policeman is sitting on the side of the road, the streets. You would not see him, but if you exceed it 1 mile more, they will catch you. I said, Subhanallah. If I didn't thank him and left, he wouldn't have told me this information. So I said, this is really the supportive guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are grateful for even Allah guided you, He will not leave you alone. He will make your life easier and do it. But if you reject, if I told him, oh, you stupid, how this, you haven't, that GPS is much more reliable, or I distrusted him and went back on the GPS, we wouldn't have, will take a longer time and make it harder on us. So it actually, practically, the more you acknowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guidance for you, the more He will increase guidance for you and make your life so easy. So the other guidance then, sometimes we all know this, if from the hadith, that when you are going to go to die, they are going to ask you questions, about who your God, who's your prophet, and so on. And these three simple questions, but people think, oh, I will remember, because it's a simple question and you know the answer now. But are you really going to remember anything in a situation like this? When you are scared, you cannot remember even your name, So, but then you need a sustaining guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it continue with you not only here, but also in the hereafter, even after you die. And this is what we call the sustaining guidance. And even to know your way and, to know your way to paradise,
Yeah.
So the sustaining guidance, this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُثَبِّتُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْقَوْلِ الثَّابِتِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. That Allah reinforces those who believe with a proper answer in this world and in the hereafter. So you are somebody's. I think Altaf, you need to mute yourself. Not our Altaf here, our Altaf in the line. So you notice that then that this is now required. This is the guidance now. يثبت الله ويضل الله الظالمين ويفعل الله ما يشاء. And then those who are injustice, they don't think. You think people who commit all of these injustice and atrocities, even if they say we believe, when they go to the hereafter, they will remember the answer? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ الظَّالِمِينَ. Allah will misguide them. They wouldn't be able to even to answer the simple question. And then in the day of judgment also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Hadid, يَوْمَ تَرَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَسْعَى نُورُهُم بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ بُشْرَاكُمُ الْيَوْمَ. That then on the day, they will see the believing men and the believing women with their light, shining above them to guide them to their way to paradise also. So now, how then okay, so we understand now guidance. So what is this Allah yudillu, that Allah misguides people, or we translate it as straight? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have set rules. What is the scale? The balance. The balance is the rules that Allah, the concise rules that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have put to govern the function of the universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also put divine rules that govern the action of the human being, the consequences of the action of the human being. That if you do good, you cannot get bad results. If you do bad, you cannot get good results. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, yes, I put also rules. And these rules that if you do not do this, or if you do this, I am not going to guide you. I am going to let you go astray. I'm going to open ways for you that you increase your sins. So you can complain, but Allah didn't hide it. He said, this is my rule. You follow the rule. The speed limit is 65. You go 70, you get a ticket. And if you go more, you put in jail. particularly if you have younger kids with you. So if the rule, don't complain about the rule, follow the rule. That you complain if the rules are not clear. Then what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He spelled it clearly for us, whom He is not going to misguide. And whom Allah, and then Allah said, put the list. And the biggest one, repeated so many times in the Quran, it is Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. Allah does not guide those who commit injustice. So a person who commits injustice, he can forget about guidance. Yes, he will receive the universal guidance, but Allah will not take him out of his, misguidance. He will know him. And this was repeated 10 times in the Quran. Then Allah comes and says, no, there is others too. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-fasiqeen. Allah does not guide those who are rebellious. And He repeated also in the Quran. So as if it's not like somebody read the Quran and then miss it. It's repeated several times. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-kafirin. And Allah does not guide those who rejected the faith, or who don't, rejected the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or don't show gratitude. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm, wallahu la yahdi kayd al-kha'inin. And Allah does not guide the snare and betrayer, those guys who betray people. Wallahu la yahdi man huwa kadhibun kaffar. A person who lies and disbelieves, Allah does not guide him either. Wallahu la yahdi man huwa musrifun kazzab. Allah does not guide the extravagant, the liar. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lists all of these lists. So if you are, a believer, you want to be guided, ensure you don't, none of these attributes, describe you. But don't complain. But if you see somebody who is doing this, you see, yes, why he's committing that, this guy is committing injustice and he keep doing more. Well, Allah is dragging him. So when He get him, will have no way but to place him in the worst part of hell. So if you look at this, al-zalimin, al-fasiqeen, al-kafirin, al-kha'inin, kadhib, kaffar, musrif, kadhab. So all of this is a list that people should not, basically have it. Let me see. Oh, I did the same thing here. So I did put it in, produce it in a poem for you. So I said, the oppressor strives on others' bane, sowing dark and chasing vain gain. The rebel strays from the truth's bright light, lost in the dark, refusing what is right. The denier turns from the evident grace, blind to the signs in a hollow space. The traitors break the sacred trust, a heart corroded, consumed by rust. And then at the end, O soul, beware of these traits that bind, and seek the path with mercy you will find. O heart, rise up, break free, take flight, and walk the path of the eternal light. So you summarize it, these few things in just a short. And those who read Arabic can read the Arabic one next to it, So, I do, yeah. So I could have done in Urdu, but yeah. Well, you can do that. By the way, because remember I used the technical term. I said I produced it. You know what it means. I didn't, basically invented it. I produced. But what's really interesting, because I got the list, from the Quran, and then framed it this way. Delegated to somebody to write it this way, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم أوزعنا أن نشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علينا وعلى والدينا وأن نعمل صالحا ترضاه. اللهم اصلح لنا في ذريتنا إنا تبنا إليك وإننا من المسلمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves a garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, we have our son Ma'raj. Oh Allah, grant him and all our friends full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, we know that there is no cure but yours. Oh Allah, grant them a cure that leaves no ailment or injury. O Allah, grant us the power and the ability that we may be grateful for the favor you have bestowed upon us and our parents, and that we may do righteous deeds that are pleasing to you. O Allah, we seek from you all of the good, whether we know it or we don't, and we seek your refuge from all evil, whether we know it or we don't. O Allah, we ask you every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weakness have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.